Hello and welcome back to the Gold Advantage. We've just finished the group stage. It's been a banger. We had an amazing tiebreaker to decide who ended up in first place in Group D. Just the two full-time employees of Best of 3 as usual here. Our part-time, I don't know if I even want to call him a content creator, but the other one isn't available to make it apparently. So we're just going to kind of run, this is just a quick recap, I think, to keep it fresh while everything's just, the dust is settling. We don't have any lines at the moment, so if you're looking for betting tips and kind of insights, Scoot and potentially BNB are meant to be doing that later this week, and they'll be uploading that. So, Scoot, how are you doing? One of your teams made it through.
I'm good. Listen, we got a couple of tiebreakers. C9, it was a long road. I think at points it looked possible. But end of the day, sad to see him go. I'm sad to see every NA team go, but I love the way they went out.
I feel C9 played the worst. I actually think 100 Thieves played better than C9. Week 1 and 2.
I agree with that, because 100 Thieves actually almost beat RNG at today.
Yeah, and I think if they had a better comp.
Honestly, it looked like at points that they should have.
Yeah, they had a bad. I didn't like their draft. I really didn't like their draft. So
yeah,
and even week 1,
they controlled the map really well. And
if you look at week 1, they kept the games to 1,000 or 2, around the 20 to 25 minute mark, and then it's late game that they lost it, but they kind of kept it competitive. So I don't know. Do you think?
I mean, realistically, I'll say this as well. Yeah. I think EDG looked better than RNG at the end of the group stage.
RNG, that's because RNG is dying from COVID. The members are like, well, that's really rough.
Okay, that's entirely possible. That's the effect. But I think
Gala and Ming are looking rough as.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, if that's taking effect, it's going to not need to carry over into knockout stages, but. You know, who really knows the long-lasting effects at this point? I don't know, dude. But if we're jumping into Group A, one of my teams got out, and they looked really good doing it. So, 4-game win streak on T1. Incredible, just, back to front. I think they're playing champs that they're extremely comfortable on. They look like one of the most menacing teams coming out of groups, to be realistic. Guma looks not nearly as kind of off as he did during Summer Split. You can feel free to disagree. I think there was still points where you're like, okay, what the fuck is he doing? But it was not nearly as much what the fuck as it was earlier this year.
I think yes, I will agree with that. I would actually put them as one of the weakest in the remaining of the tournament. Yeah. I think a lot of it. I haven't been to be honest. I haven't been that impressed by Faker. I don't feel like he's been really nailing it. Zeus and is solid, but I don't think he's on the same level as 369 and Breathe. And Ona as well has been he's been alright. Bot lane, to be honest, there's a lot of stuff that I just feel one bot lane is not playing the best. They're also just outclassed in their roles. So, Guma's doing better, but then I look at Gala, I look at Ruler, it's damn, that is, Deodar.
I don't know if Carrier is outclassed. I think Carrier is one of the best supports.
Yeah.
Carrier is one of the best supports.
I'm just honest.
And Zeus is also one of the best top laners.
So Zeus is very good, but I put him above Flandre and Doran, sure, but he's a cut below I think the others.
I mean, we'll see, though, because at the end of the day, you can have really good individual players, and if they get focused out during a match, everything can kind of go out the window. It all comes down to how you play as 5.
Yeah.
So, I think chemistry is going to matter a lot here. I think they have it.
All right.
I will say EDG also did what they needed to do to get out of groups, so props to them. C9 absolutely imploded.
Yeah.
Fnatic. They started the day off by beating them. Fnatic absolutely fell apart, which I will say... Weeks over weeks, I have said this is not a team you can trust.
No, you nailed that.
Eventually, flip the switch off. It will eventually happen. So, listen, I'm happy to see that prediction come through. I'm sad for my EU fans out there because they had to watch this happen. But at the same time, realistically, I don't know what we were expecting.
It just sucked because I think we've seen glimpses of Fnatic
in a short term.
Throughout the year, Fnatic kind of had moments where it was especially in spring, it was oh shit, this team is looking like they're okay, and then it's they never had the consistency to deliver, which just sucks. And that's it. I kind of don't want to waste too much time. It really looks like between week 1 and 2 they imploded.
Listen,
and it just fell apart.
You wanted to waste time on it last week.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah,
it's good. You don't. I want to skip.
Wasted a lot of time about it last week
because I mean, there's another team that did this. So
I totally believe that. I thought they would make it out of groups. Because if they won one match, it's good enough. And instead they did the reverse and a 0-9. Just got a complete mental boom, and EDG seemed to kind of really figure out what they were doing, so they fixed it and they're getting out. I don't really fully have a read on EDG. They got out and they won.
They still play the most Korean LPL league out there, and that I think has stayed consistent. I'll say this about the Fnatic situation. Sure. There was what is super frustrating about it is that they were ahead early against T1 at least first couple minutes, and they really didn't do anything with it. They had done some good things, ganked bot early, set the tone there, and then they didn't follow up on it at all, and it just looked broken from there.
Disappointing.
I didn't really understand what the play was after. Yeah, super disappointing. But again, they played to their ceiling short term, and I don't know. This group was kind of set to end the way that it did after week 1, and I think it
was. I mean, it's just a shame when you see the 1-5 on Cloud9. They should have done so much more. And the worst thing is the way they beat Fnatic was what I talked about. Was hey, look, Fudge is having a rough time with things. Put him on someone like Sejuani in top lane, where you can still kind of carry. It's not a carry top laner, but it's a impactful top laner. Let him skill style, but let him create plays for the rest of the group. And they smashed Fnatic with it. And then the next game they went. I can't remember what their draft was, but they just went off.
Aatrox.
Yeah,
they tried to get him on,
and it was here we go again. And there's so many more factors than just going. Go on to go on a tank, play slow. I don't want NA to go back to that old style where they're okay, we're just playing for the late game. We're gonna try and play scared the whole time. I like the fact that we're trying to play a bit more aggressive, and I think Cloud9 has the talent to do it, but they just, unfortunately, I just felt like they just played dumb. And they didn't really learn from what they were doing. So they're out, and it's
they played them. I mean, they came out with the right draft against Fnatic, and then they threw it out the window in game 2 against JDG because they felt like they needed to play up to that standard instead of playing their own style. Yeah. Which, I mean, if we've learned one thing, it is the meta currently favors you playing your game. Yeah. And I think Rogue exemplifies that really well. I think JDG exemplifies that really well. Gen.G today especially exemplified that really well. Yeah. And they just tried to follow what is this idea of you have to play through top.
And look, I've actually pulled up the drafts.
They were winning through bot.
They gave Fnatic Maokai, who's really strong. Victor's very strong. Aphelios, who's strong. I didn't love the Soraka pick, but that's fine. On the flip side, Fudge played on Ornn. Goes 2-0-11. That is incredibly impactful. Berserkers on Jinx,
and I mean, they
goes
were making
5-1-8.
plays with it. It wasn't just an empty.
No, it wasn't. He's not just being a frontline tank. He was impacting the game really, really well. So it's you're allowing him to kind of pull those off. Then we go to the next one, which is the EDG game, and he goes on Aatrox and goes 0-2-0. Not even a single fucking assist. Now, to be fair, Cloud9 only had one kill the whole game. So, what can you say there? But they throw Berserker onto Varus. There's just again, Jinx was banned, to be fair. But I'm okay, well, early pick someone. There were a lot of ADCs banned, but I'm okay, well, put him on the Aphelios. But they didn't. They prioritized grabbing the Aatrox in top lane. And this is the thing. It's it just didn't have the impact. He wasn't he was put on something to hard carry, and it just didn't work. And then when you look at the T1 match that they lost also, hey, guess what? They put him, and I think this was they were just throwing things out the window because they go Fiora, Bel'Veth, and everything. But he goes 1-2-2 on Fiora. Fudge is absolutely a great top laner. He can carry, he can do well, but the team wasn't working in the right way to enable that, and they should have adapted on that from that. And it's just a shame.
I don't know. At points, I do agree with you in some regard about Fudge, and I think he's extremely talented. But at points, it just didn't look like he was all there. Yeah. And it was disappointing to see. And I don't know how much you can blame the team or an individual player for this. Of course, team game, obviously. Yeah. but it was just disappointing across the board. I don't know. I don't want to stick around.
No,
too
it
long.
was,
I
and I think that's it. To summarize it, it's disappointing. Group B, it wasn't so disappointing because I kind of expected the result that we ended up with. So JDG come out on top, 6-1. Damwon second place, and then EG and G2 behind.
Hey, I mean, I said it last week. I think EG goes home with one thing, and it's a win against G2 at some point this year. Obviously, they were never going to compete with Damwon or JDG to get out of this group or anything like that. So, very proud of the NA boys for doing the only thing that you showed up on week 2.
They got revenge.
They got their revenge, and it looked really good when they got it. Like, they kept G2 on the back foot the entire time. G2 obviously extremely disappointing as well. Listen, I think I don't want to go back to the whole Carlos thing or any argument like that, but I will say, like, after that happened, I did have a feeling like Rogue is the better team coming out of Europe now. I thought after finals, it was like G2 is still a better team. Even if they lost this final, I think their team fighting throughout the year had been better. Everything across the board. They looked really disappointing coming into Worlds. Part of me thinks just like Caps having lost the final, slightly different player. Nah. I don't think he played badly or anything.
I think he's just.
This is
to be honest,
such a
I just felt like
they
just got outplayed. There's something off with the chemistry there. I think they've always had a weaker bot lane, and I thought they would. You know, the way we thought the meta would be evolving, I thought it would be very heavy top. It's actually just been really diverse, and I think you said this last time. This has been an incredible meta. We've had so many champs played, so many different ways of carrying the match, and yeah, it just looks like G2 Flacker just wasn't really performing. I heard a rumor that Hans might replace him, and I'm like, I actually love that. I think Hansama, Targamas.
I do think Flaggett had a good year at points, though.
He had a good year, but it was only when like the meta really suited the bot lane, supporting it, and carrying, and like not necessarily carrying, but like funneling a lot of resources down there. Whereas I think Hans is like a very reliable. He can let Broken Blade carry, Caps carry. He can carry. I'm like, that would be a real boon there. But they just got outclassed. You know what? Like, Damwon, and I've been saying this. I said this from the start. I'm going to note it. I said Damwon. I think people are sleeping on them.
That's
and right. I would put, like, Damwon probably... I actually think Damwon might be the best Korean team.
They did get hosed by JDG.
I think
game.
I think RNG, JDG are the top two, and then I would say Damwon, and then it's probably Gen.G. So, and then T1, and then DRX.
I think from week one, looking at Group B though, this was like so set
to
end the way that it did. Like even more so than A. And that's because I was bought in on the idea that Fnatic falls apart, right? Like, I had this idea, like, okay, yeah, I said a lot of things about C9, but, I mean, end of the day, like, a lot of that is NA hopium. You got to know that you're listening to a North American boy here. Whereas, like, realistically, EVG looked better than Fnatic. Now, you go into B, neither of those teams were competing. Like, with Damwon or JDG at any point, realistically. But Damwon actually did give JDG some trouble at points. Although,
but I feel like JDG, they look so good, but they're also just so messy sometimes and so chaotic.
But that's how they've played the whole year.
Exactly. And I'm not worried about it, but I'm like, they're never gonna 3-0. They'll always 3-1, maybe even 3-2, and that's it. So they lost to them, but I still think like JDG is looking really fucking good.
Well, they look elite, and it is this idea that like
369.
We've played in chaos for so long that we're now very comfortable with it, and it's going to make you more uncomfortable. And we know all of your reset timers. We're going to take fights that you wouldn't expect another team to take because we know that we have a second or two.
And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, in back jungle, like
it's huge.
It's ridiculous shit that they're pulling out of their hat. But like they know that they have a second or two window where they can pick this fight. Maybe burst somebody down early, and then you just have an advantage out of nowhere. But, obviously they take risks, but they go into, like, the tiebreaker. They pick a shitload of engage across that comp. I think they had Nautilus and Vi, which I don't even like the Vi pick right now, but they made it work completely. Yeah. So, like, I love the way they play League. It's extremely fun to watch. But both these teams, I mean, coming out, it's going to be awesome because we got Showmaker back in a knockout stage, Canyon back in a knockout stage. Nuggery is one of the best top laners at Worlds right now. Like, they're going to be electric as well. And I'll give you props for picking that out of a hat. Not picking it out of a hat, but predicting it early. Like, Damwon does look good.
I think
both of these teams look very good. So, it's going to be really fun to watch both.
Weakest group out of everyone, Group C. I think the recap there is just like you nailed the predict. Like, and I made the short. I put that up of you being an Oracle again, top fucking blowing it again. Just Wayward and Jackie Love just fucking throwing those. Like they only threw a couple of games, but that's all it took.
The part of that short that's kind of missing is that like part of me was didn't want to pick top to be the team that fell apart, but then again, like,
of course it did.
It was them before, and now it is again. And the really disappointing part of this is that it was a loss to GAM that kept them out of this conversation.
So, did you see the tweet?
Like,
so one of the best matches, they're hitting the Nexus. It's down to like 20 HP, and what happens is Karthus ults and kills or does a lot of damage to two players, Apparently, Soraka or someone had a Maw of Malmortius, not Soraka, but Nami, I think it was, had a Maw of Malmortius that didn't trigger. If it's supposedly a glitch. If it triggered, they don't die.
And they would have won that game.
Win the game.
Like easily.
Because it's like 2 order attacks, 1 order attack.
Wow.
So apparently that did not trigger, so they took an extra 300 damage or something like that, and that killed them. Or allowed someone else to kill them. But it's all... fucking rough. I don't know.
That is rough because I'll say this, at times it looked really messy from top, but they did beat Rogue and DRX on day 2, and they could have made a case to get out if that's not.
Well, they would have gotten out basically. Because then you put them in a tiebreaker right?
like
with Rogue.
4-2, 4-2, 4-2.
And you put them tiebreaker with Rogue, and I know who I'm taking because Rogue, unfortunately, like I this was the other thing I think I nailed is like I was saying that Rogue was playing a certain style, and people, if they figured it out, how did they do? And then I started believing in them, and they look like shit, and it's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I need you to just hop off the train again. I know. Like, you got to just get out of here. Because I
think they're going to get spanked now. Don't worry, I'm off the train again. I'm off it. Because I think they had a way of playing, and it got banned out, and I don't think they fully have a defined alternate style. I also think the EU teams were scrimming a lot together, because we saw a lot of similar draft decisions, a lot of kind of like... play styles are similar. I don't think that was the right call because they went like 1, it's like 3 and 15 or something, and like this, what did they do total? 1, 3, 7. So 7 wins across the board. I'm like, that's not the team you want to be scrimming. So I think Rogue made it through. DRX is scraped. I think both of these teams are like basically everyone is happy to either draw Rogue or DRX. It's like great cannon fodder.
I mean, Rogue's gonna need to get in the fucking lab to beat JDG.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's good.
I mean, it's not gonna happen. But maybe we'll see. The shift we saw from like the semifinals of the LEC, and we were like, no way they're winning. And then suddenly they smashed G2, and they were like, yeah, that weekend made a difference. And it was like, damn. No one could have predicted
no way they're winning train. Let's be clear. Yeah, nobody could have predicted what was bound to happen. Fate had it in the cards. Do they match up against that playstyle well? No. We'll get into that one.
We'll do that. Group D, we just finished that. Heartbreaking for Flying Ghosters.
What a day.
100 Thieves got a win. Then they just got... And again, I actually, like I was saying at the beginning, I think 100 Thieves actually played the best out of all of NA. I think they get a lot of flack for a lot of things, but at the end of the day, in week 1, they kept the games somewhat competitive until 20 or so minutes. And then week 2, they won the first game against Flying Oysters, which they should have. And they kind of did a good job against RNG. FBI's been very critical of his own play. And I think that's valid. I don't think he played very well, and unfortunately, I don't think Abadaga did either. So realistically, I think if you rebuild with this team, you need to go with Closer someday and FBI. but we need to start looking at other changes, because I do think they've kind of hit their peak. It's just a shame to see them down there when, I mean, it's the whole thing for NA, isn't it?
I don't think they played like a 1-5 team. I think both of those RNG games are winnable, which, you know, you come away with that and you're kind of looking at the board now like, shit. Yeah. Imagine if we could have actually won those. I think the second one was even more winnable than the first. At times, like, it looked like they were very clearly going to win the game. And then I think a lot of what Peanut said about NA came true for 100 Thieves. Like, they played most truly to this. Yeah, they can get ahead, but they're going to make some crucial mistakes that will cost them the game. And you can just expose those later. And
like that call at Baron that is was really like, what are you doing?
About it.
Like, why would you do that? You get wiped. One person survives. It's like, that's, you just thrown that away. You had no need to do that. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff there. The group
did give us our second tiebreaker, though.
I think Gen.G RNG. I think RNG, despite like essentially all the players are dying from COVID and feeling really crappy, they played really well. I am really bullish on them. I think they're looking really strong. I think Gen.G did okay. The wins that they got, I really think the first win they got was RNG just drafted a bad comp. And then the second game, I actually think RNG was the better comp. But then they just started running into Gen.G one by one. Really frustrating to see. Not only because I had a lot of money riding on them, but it just seemed like, hey, you have a really great comp that they have to go into. Let them engage on you. Galio ult on them. Let Viego just like reset from the CC chains that you can create. And instead it was like one by one, they would just run in, die, or they'd run and split up. And it's like, oh, you're not playing to your comp. And I assume that they just were fatigued after the day, feeling ill, and just, you know, fell apart a little bit there. So
I think it almost, though, is like we've only seen, realistically, I didn't watch enough LPL this year, and the little bit that I did was mostly JDG, just to get a read on how good they actually were. I've only seen this team play best of ones as the 5 that they are now. Obviously, we watched all of MSI, but it was a different roster, or one difference, you know, but still.
I know. You're beating that drum like it's the biggest change in the world.
It is huge in any sport, like in any esport, anything. You make a change, got to see if it worked. Clearly it does. Like, they're still a very good team. Although it does worry me to see them play the second team twice, and I think the second time around they got dominated a lot more than they did the first. That's the concern. That's like my main concern walking away from this. I think I kind of agree with you. They had a better draft, but they did get sort of outplayed by Gen.G.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. I never have a read on RNG. I didn't even have a read on them in MSI, and that was probably because I was so bought in on the T1 storyline of like, go perfect, go perfect, win both titles. Yeah, and like they came out of nowhere, or what seems like nowhere. I think a lot of LPL fans would be like, yeah, you're wrong. They didn't come out of nowhere. They're extremely good. And they are. Like, credit to them, but I don't know if this team's going to hold up in a best of 5.
Sure.
Seeing like flashes of inconsistency, especially in a repeat match against a very good Gen.G roster. Now, do I think it's possible they get through the first round? No, because they're playing T1.
Well, all right. Well, let's talk about the next round. Let's start off with Rogue JDG. I think this is pretty quick because honestly, JDG just looks like a cut above Rogue, and like you said, Rogue is gonna have to go into what's the DBZ? I don't know what you guys call it in. It's like the gravity chamber to like train like Dragon Ball. Like Goku, they got to go into time dilation, train for a year to prepare for this in a week. But I
mean, I would go so far to say, as like, if we're going with anime references, they need to. Have you seen Hunter x Hunter? Okay, end of Hunter x Hunter when Gon gets like real mad and summons like
they need Shenron just to make a wish. Like, I don't know. This is
they're gonna need some crazy shit, but. They're going to make it.
No, they're not. So, it's going to be
they're winning this best of 5.
Honestly, it's going to be a 3-1, and I think the one game they win is because I don't believe JDG can be clean with their wins. So that's my prediction, is a 3-1. I think a minus 1.5 bet is probably going to be a really good one. Next one.
I actually don't hate Rogue getting into this match because I think Malrang can kind of step into the messiness a little bit because he does play like slightly sloppy at times, and it's
very much.
It doesn't make sense, but it might make a little bit more sense in this matchup. Now, if they let Jarvan through, almost guaranteed Rogue wins. Like, you got to just think about it a little bit. Got to look at the draft, be like, this guy's so comfortable on J4.
Not gonna happen.
Listen, two Jarvan wins. 2 Jarvan wins in one game where they ban out Malrang for like all of the picks, and then they go bot, and it's just over. Rogue makes it out.
All right, well that's the way.
You gotta trust.
It's not gonna happen, but all right, sure, why not?
I like a Rogue plus 1.5 or a Rogue plus 2.5 here. I think the odds on that'll be.
I think a plus 2.5 is actually pretty good. I think you could do that. Take a minus 1.5 on one side and plus 2.5 on the other, and I'm like, that's you're stacking it there.
Well, those would it's the same bet. You just fucking
double up. RNG T1.
Save some.
Now this is going to be a banger. I actually think it's going to be 3-1 to RNG. I just think RNG across the board. Like I already said, I think they're just the better team. You know, Breathe is without a doubt him or 369 are the best top laners. Zeus is below them. Zhao Hu is playing really well in mid lane. I don't think Faker's playing that well. Gala and Ming are probably top 2, top 3 bot lanes.
But I think if you take Zhao Hu out of the game, like they lose a lot. No,
it's all about Breathe.
And I think
Breathe is the carry.
But I think 100 Thieves did a good job of that. Zhao Hu was playing Akali, I think.
And he went 7-0-0. So, but then Breathe was also playing like on Breathe is insane. Like, I don't know. It's Zhao Hu or Breathe.
Yeah,
and
he's
both
good.
Are insane.
He's very good.
And this is the thing is like, sure. I think, you know, I could put Ono over Wei if you want to really argue it, but it's, you know, even if you want to say Zeus can compete into Breathe, fine.
I'm taking Carrier all day.
But it's a bot lane thing, and I take Gala over Guma.
Yeah, it's 2 players.
Exactly.
It's not just one.
And
so
and
honestly, you could argue that the ADC is more important than that
Ming is
unless it's engaged supports.
Ming is playing really
If it's engaged supports, I'm taking Carrier all day.
Sure. But it's not really been engaged.
Carrier's very
prefer
clean.
Enchanters.
Well, I mean, you know, there's been some Nautilus picks in there, and we love
sprinkled
that
in.
if we're a T1 fan. Now, I'll say this.
All right, you counter.
T1 has not played an actual LPL team.
Sure.
They've played the most stock, standard kind of Korean LPL team. Did end up winning Worlds last year, that play style. Yeah. Now, I don't think it works as well currently, but we haven't seen a genuine response to that, and I would assume it's something similar to the style of Gen.G.
Okay.
Although T1 tends to be slightly more aggressive than Gen.G in the way they play, but I'm going to assume it's somewhere along that line, and I think Gen.G handled RNG very well. Now, you could say it's COVID, nerf, whatever, anything. But, yeah, I think it'll be a very fun series to watch. I think we're getting a great match as spectators. I have to take T1 here, and it's also going to be a 3.
Yeah, so. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. All right. Next match, Damwon Kia against Gen.G. Now, I'm gonna flip the script here. I'm going to say Damwon wins. I think Damwon wins. And
I'm also gonna take Damwon.
Yeah, and I think they win 3-2.
But I think it's a really interesting match.
I'm gonna say 3-2. But I think it's gonna be really close. But I don't know. I feel like when I'm looking at it, again, there's just Canyon's playing really well. Graves is in the meta. Showmaker's playing really well. I'm not mad about Dokdown and Kellen, but like Nuguri's doing okay. He seems to be kind of coming back into form. I just feel like it suits them a little bit more. From what I've been reading, I've been chatting to a few people, and like Ruler is really good when he is on the right champs, but the meta right now for those ADCs doesn't fully suit him. I mean, I'm predicting a 3-2 to Damwon. I just have a feeling
I think this will be a 5 map.
But
I think we're 100% getting a deep series. I agree with you on that. I will also take Damwon here. Part of me wants to do it on the basis of experience and having won a title before, especially with Showmaker Canyon. But if you consider like top side of the map, obviously Jovi is probably the best mid laner in the world. Although Showmaker also playing very well right now, so like that matchup's going to be insane. I think Canyon takes the cake here over Peanut currently. and you get to top, and Nuggery is obviously one of the best top laners in the world. So then I do give the advantage to Damwon here going into it. I think the weakness is clearly bot on the team, but
I just think the meta kind of
not a
also
bot
suits them a
meta,
little
and they're
bit
not
better.
playing it as it's a bot meta right now. That's what I'm saying. Like you can play through bot lane if you want to, but they don't have to because their top side of their map is so strong. So as long as bot lane sustains for long enough, I think they can bring in champs that will keep them around in the game, lane well, and then they'll have a chance to carry on top side of the map. Top mid, obviously.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And that's where I think they
Two
win.
big brains of best of three are aligned. So
that's crazy.
All right.
But I mean, listen, it's gonna be a fucking.
It's gonna
banger.
be so good.
I'm so excited.
I'm a bit annoyed that
good.
we're getting like I was gonna be like annoyed that we're getting Korean teams against each other, but then I realized there's 4 Korean teams, so you have to. And so it's like, okay,
you have to.
Whatever happens, is gonna happen, and then it sucks that RNG JDG is gonna happen there, but JDG it's gonna happen in the semis, but
that's gonna be crazy because it's T1 Rogue.
Oh yeah.
We're actually completely on different ends.
I know that's stuff like that. Now,
I'll see what my actual picks are tomorrow when I talk to Chris.
All right, EDG. DRX.
The last one. Do we even need to talk about? Do we even need to talk about?
I think EDG DRX is just like DRX is the weakest team. They're the rogue of came from West Group weakest team.
Yeah, I think EDG stomps the.
I think
shit
it's gonna be
out of them.
3-1.
You got
3-0. Okay. Yeah,
I don't listen. I think DRX is not very good. And they had a very easy group, and I think you agree with that. Top fell apart, and they still beat them day 2. They also beat Rogue day 2. So, like, these teams are coming off of losses. They're not too difficult to beat. I think Rogue is more trouble than DRX, honestly, because DRX is fairly easy to read, and I think EDG is gonna have a good read on that. Again, like, EDG is also probably has the best possible bracket that they could to win if they were going to be put in a win situation. Also came out of nowhere last year a little bit. So if there's a team to worry about kind of being a dark horse, it could be EDG. Although
I say 3-1.
Teams
I
play
could potentially
the
see it
style
go
they're
3-2.
playing better than them.
I could see a 3-2. I don't think it's going to be 3-0. Mainly just because, like you said, DRX just plays such a traditional clean style. EDG, we did see in week 1 a little bit of messiness, so I'm like, maybe they slip up. It depends on the form they come in on that day, but I'm leaning towards a 3-1 for EDG over DRX.
I mean,
you're like, nah.
I don't know. I think Scout and the rest of the team too good to lose this.
Fair enough.
Like, that's just definitively kind of the situation. And I think it's going to be a 3-0, again, just to, like, be very clear on this. Right. Also, Flandre, pretty good, good top laner.
He's
solid.
Right.
He's not incredible. He's
right.
good, but JJ's the one that worries me.
Okay. All right.
At times.
Yeah, he does. But a lot of them do. Like, Piosik also worries me. So it's like a matchup of people that int.
JJ makes some weird fucking plays, man. And listen, if they work, they're cool. But like, sometimes I'm left a little speechless by some of the decision making. No, they're gonna stomp though. DRX is not the team. They're not gonna win this. Don't believe in it. Hop off the train now if you're a Korean fan.
Yeah, but if you're a Korean fan, don't put all your hopes into DRX. Like, they're a better team.
Yeah, that's not the org for you.
All right.
Yeah, they're a way better team.
I think that wraps up kind of like our, you've got my predictions here. I've given you score lines. So when Scoot and BNB do a betting episode where they're going through the lines and so on, you can just apply my logic there. Scoot, you know what I'm saying. So I'm sure you'll find the value bets for me.
Yeah, I think
it's pretty. I mean, like, look, groups has been fun. We've had some. I'm really excited about this quarterfinals because, honestly, apart from Rogue JDG, every other game should be really fun.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. I think the meta also is very fun as a spectator because you get to see a lot of things that you wouldn't see. And I think you get to see teams attempt to make the other team uncomfortable by playing like champs that you wouldn't normally see. There's just a lot going on.
There's a lot of adaptability that's required. Like, draft is important, and then reading that draft and like how are you? The meta's evolving. We're seeing a lot of teams let Maokai through when he was considered broken in week 1. Now we're starting to question, like, okay, is Aatrox a permaban? I think he is still very high up, but like, what jungle meta are you going for? Is it jungle carry? Is it not? How are we doing damage dealers? So it's been a lot of fun. I also just like the meta in the mid lane. Silas and Akali are like such fun champs to watch.
Akali is like the most fun champ to watch.
Azir I always like Azir. Even Victor to an extent. Like, I think
I don't like Azir, but that's personal.
He can make some great plays, I think. So there's just a lot of champs around the board that I think are pretty interesting. So
I'm sad. I haven't seen a lot of Talia walls, which is disappointing because I think like if you get a good wall in there and you split up a fight, it looks really cool. No, I don't disagree with you at all though. This is gonna be just a great group stage, and I think, like as you said, there's a lot of adaptation that needs to happen, but it's gonna become how much can you bring out between games in a best of 5. Who I think coaching is gonna come into play a lot more than it normally would here. Like, I think it's gonna be massive. So I'm just really interested to see how it plays out and how T1's new coach can make them win a world championship. So I will be buying that jersey when they win, because it's not out yet, which is super disappointing, but I would have already purchased it.
What are you going to do?
That's my final thought today.
That's it.
I don't know. I'm pretty pissed. I think I had to be like a member or something. I'm not even that, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's how it is. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. That wraps up the kind of recap episode. We will see you later on this week with our betting episode, and I cannot wait to kind of bet on this actually series. Groups have been great for me. I hope you guys are in our Discord. If not, the link is in our description. You can find us on social media under @best-of-3. Please like, subscribe. That sort of stuff really helps us. A bunch of you have been commenting. We really appreciate it. We see you, and we'll see you in the Discord. So have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We see you. We respond to you. Absolutely love it. Peace out. Catch you later.